a racist system doesn't depend on individual racists to produce racist outcomes. We could expel the thugs from law enforcement, the rabid racists from law enforcement, and still be producing racist outcomes, tragic, absurd, avoidable racist outcomes, because we're not grappling with the systemic conditions. As long as we have a society where we consign whole populations to a sort of inferior status, it's more de facto than formal, there will be lots of space for certain types of official actors in the police department and elsewhere to abuse and prey on those populations.
Janie, thanks so much for coming on and talking to us for a bit today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
So the Institute, why did you make an institute?
It's the Invisible Institute, just to help our watchers, our viewers.
Right. It's a sort of improbable institute. And the origin of the name is years ago, 20 odd years ago. I was reporting from high-rise public housing in Chicago and a kind of insurgent journalistic practice. And we were working out of a vacant unit in a public housing high-rise, in the late stages of abandonment of public housing, and began to publish online a kind of human rights documentation we called The View from the Ground. And as a joke and a kind of a gentle sneer towards academia and think tanks, I said that this was being published under the auspices of the Invisible Institute. And the name has just followed me around. People really like the name, but it started with a wisecrack. And then many years later, we actually formally constituted a nonprofit organization that we call the Invisible Institute.
Right. So your first book, when you're these papers, you started to go through these papers of your father's papers. Had you already at that time been focused on human rights, or did this illuminate something that you saw in his work?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I was very close to my father, who was a law professor at the university, a constitutional scholar. And actually, my sense of language and possibilities of language and commitment to some notion of civil rights and human rights grew out of that relationship. But it was actually after he died at 60, which we now regard as young, in the midst of his career. And he left what was to be the kind of his sort of masterwork. He left a 1,200-page first draft manuscript. Now, I would pass a manuscript on to you for your reactions and say it was a first draft in the sense that it wasn't finished and I could use feedback. In his case, it really was a first draft. He was a very fluent writer, and he just, took on this project of writing a kind of intellectual history of the First Amendment at the level of the Supreme Court. And each academic year, as he had time, he would plow through this, and he left this extraordinary document with his very fluent conversational writing style. And then each summer he would take the manuscript and he would sit with it, on vacation, and he would make marginal comments, revise this. And so I, after his death, kind of entered into his almost the ecosystem of his thought, and spent a full decade working to finish the book and bring it to publication. And it actually, in ways I'm still kind of interrogating, and I appreciate your question, was kind of foundational for the work I've done since. I mean, I think it was an extraordinary sort of active grieving process to have something to throw myself into so passionately. And I think I internalized a lot that to this day continues to shape my relationship to the world.
Now, you could have easily taken that work and gone on to be a constitutional scholar, a lawyer, but you've chosen to be more in the in the city, down on the ground. How did that come about?
So I had multiple opportunities to go to law school, and it was an obvious choice. And when I finished the book, there are even offers from law schools to tailor a program because I had this intensive immersion in a critical area of constitutional law. So I've decided on multiple occasions not to be a lawyer. So I obviously emerged from that project. And I began the project as well, but I emerged from it with a really strong sense of vocation under the First Amendment. But I have understood that as more as a practitioner than a scholarly commentator on First Amendment cases. There's an obvious journalistic niche for that.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who have played that role. Anthony Lewis of the New York Times comes to mind. But I sort of actively decided that I really wanted to be engaged in a kind of active inquiry about these values by practicing them.
Now, so your wife is jogging one day, and violence is upon her, and you write for you a seminal work, Working with Available Light, about this. Now, did seeing this violence up close, did that influence your later work? Because now you're not just talking about these values, you're actually in the middle of them. And how did seeing violence up close change your perspective?
Yeah, so my wife, was assaulted while running, a brutal assault. And the book you referenced, Working with Available Light, was an effort to, I actually was trying to do two things. One was I'd been massively exposed in the work over the years on my dad's book and related human rights reporting to the narrative accounts of torture, rape, terrible violations of human dignity. And so often those accounts have the quality as if the only people who exist are the torturer and the person being tortured, the sort of isolation. So the book was, first of all, an effort to tell a story of a single act of violence and moral stupidity in a richer world of human relatedness. And really, I wrote the book, but it completely grew out of conversations that continue to this day with my wife, a sort of ongoing discourse about, how violence how violence and the fear of violence shape people's experience of the world.
Yeah.
The way in which I've always been very careful, and I appreciate the delicacy of your questioning about, describing the relationship of that literary project to the work I've done, in recent decades that have taken me, deep into Black Chicago and particularly into public housing, because I don't want to suggest that there's a kind of linear thing, but one way in which there really was something that drove the work I was already, in the beginning stages of, and it was, again, it issued from my wife as much as from me. When I finished the book and, was touring with the book, I don't think I did an interview where I wasn't asked about whether I was obsessed with revenge against the man who'd assaulted my wife. It was like there was this one narrative
Right.
about this kind of violence and violence more generally, which was really a kind of fantasy, and a kind of fantasy that quickly elides into a lynching scenario, and I didn't, I felt anger and a wish that he would be caught so he didn't do harm to other people. And I felt, a spirit of resistance that I wake up with every day in terms of pushing back against certain conditions in the society. But I didn't feel that, and it was always framed in terms of obsession, are you obsessed with wreaking revenge? And what became really important for us was connecting with men, and this is my neighborhood, I'm a South Sider, I'm speaking from the South Side of Chicago, who in a sense fit the profile and aren't cruel, aren't I've spent a lot of years working with young men in the criminal economy and the street organizations, the gangs, as neighbors and colleagues. And so in a weird way, what violence often does is people pull their boundaries in. And we see this in our discourse about crime at the moment, which is, being exploited politically in so many ways. There's such an impulse to pull your boundaries in the interest of safety and the safety of your family. What we ended up doing in a kind of intuitive, quixotic way was dramatically expanding our boundaries and our definition of what our neighborhood is and where we're at home.
So you expanded the idea of what is a neighbor, how far that extends out from your home, from your block, because you work in your neighborhood. So how did you, when you say you expanded it, how did that work in practicality?
So I should situate myself. So I live in a neighborhood called Kenwood on the south side of Chicago, very much a middle-class neighborhood. The particular part of the neighborhood where I live is probably, shades to being predominantly Black, but fully integrated. It's held up as an ideal of integration. Barack and Michelle Obama's house is 3 or 4 blocks away. This is a neighborhood to which mixed race couples move in order to raise their children in a community that is in harmony with their household values. And it's, for me, the beloved community. I mean, this is the place I feel most at home in the world, within walking distance of where I am. And particularly in the 90s and into the aughts until it was destroyed, was an immense concentration of public housing. Immense. Biggest in the country, biggest concentration of public housing, and the biggest concentration of poverty in the country. And I in something I wrote years ago, I analogized it to like a armada of boat people offshore.
Right.
So present, visible. You couldn't go anywhere in the city, north, south, east, west, on expressways that formed a kind of network of moats around these developments without seeing the high rises. But nobody went there except to buy drugs.
In one hand, you're writing about Robert Bork, which is sort of up in the sky, and then in the other thing, you're writing, down in the streets. Is there a dichotomy there?
Well, I suppose there is, but what happened is I got engaged, while writing about Robert Bork and then writing the book about my wife's experience and our family experience, increasingly engaged in various initiatives on the South Side. And, I spent years immersed in my father's book. So it was that high intellectual, jurisprudential, doctrinal kind of work. And then I looked up at the end of it, and I was married and I had 2 small children, and I really lived in my native place. I'd come back to my native place. And I began to explore, you have this appetite to explore the South Side, with the same kind of energy I might have had as a foreign correspondent or war correspondent, and some of the same personal attributes in terms of an appetite for, a certain kind of adventure. And by degrees, I moved what I think of as sort of deeper and deeper into my neighborhood, deeper and deeper into the South Side. And almost like a gravitational force, I was pulled more and more to what's called the South State Street corridor, this kind of Soweto-like concentration in the central city, but it might as well have been on the other side of the moon. And over time, I created a small employment program, addressed to young men in the gangs and coming out of prison. And I gradually became more and more embedded in a particular public housing community, the Stateway Gardens, became formally an advisor to the resident leadership. So I was involved in negotiations with various public agencies over the fate of the community. And when I finished working with Available Light and began to do the kind of on-the-ground reporting that you refer to, I had an extraordinary array of sources, but I didn't actually think of them as sources. These were friends, neighbors, coworkers, people who I didn't know, but who knew me because I obviously was highly identifiable in that neighborhood. And my work to this day is kind of enriched by that. So going back to your juxtaposition between writing about Robert Bork and the sort of on the ground reporting I've done, the way I think of it, and it's really part of the Invisible Institute practice, is that there are things that can only be learned on the ground from the people most affected.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not, in all knowledge is partial knowledge. I mean, it's not like that knowledge trumps other kinds of things that can be learned by other means.
Right.
But the absence of that knowledge, the absence of those perspectives, experiences, and voices from our public discourse just kind of, deforms the larger conversation. And so it was really my intention, with the skill set honed in writing about Robert Bork, to do what I could to fashion modes of reporting that brought those perspectives into the larger discourse, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a question about, doing all of this work. And now I would almost say, did you feel like an ally, or you're getting this information, you're writing for a purpose. The purpose is, I think, I think of you as an activist. You're writing so that the conditions can change. Yet you're writing about the systematic problems, and so what is the process upon writing about something in a way that has your partial truth, but you're describing circumstances, and your end goal about, breaking apart structures and systems, and we can talk about police violence in a minute, but how do you sustain that, and who's the audience? Who are you writing for?
So maybe let me answer in a kind of narrative mode, and then we can pick it apart. One of the things that happened over time in my immersion in Stateway Gardens was I wrote about a lot of different things initially. The physical, just deplorable physical conditions people were living in. There were the beginning of the demolitions, so the process of sort of forced relocation of this population, but increasingly came to focus on the presence of the police, the way the police were present in the setting, which I think took a while to actually see how much the police presence kind of structured everyday life for people.
Did you see it yourself, and the pattern started to emerge
I
yourself?
saw it myself. I witnessed things. I mean, I'm right there every day on the ground. Couldn't be more on the front. People would come into my quote unquote office, bloodied by having just been beaten up by the police, or I witnessed things. And what was most striking for me was the just sort of brazenness and openness with which certain officers, by no means all officers, just kind of preyed on this population. It could take a range of different forms, taking drugs and money off the young men and not making arrests, so kind of living off the drug trade. There were police officers who really enjoyed just beating people up, and others, residents used to talk about KKK under blue and white, the just overtly, proactively racist officers who got to humiliate Black residents of the city within their job descriptions.
I'm sorry, but were there mostly, what was the population racially with the police?
Mixed. Chicago today, I'm not sure then, it was, I think the proportions were probably a little higher. The city is about 30% Black and the police force about 20% Black. But Black leadership, lots of Black officers. Some of the cruelest and most thuggish officers I've written about are Blacks, but there are different dynamics, and certainly there was a lot of white racism apparent. But basically, what you had was a situation where a population had been placed beyond the pale, had been presumptively criminalized by the way in which we've pursued the war on drugs. So everybody, a toddler, a grandmother, is assumed to be somehow associated with drug dealing. And that created a degree of license and impunity for officers who were bent that way to sort of do their thing. And I began, and this was probably over a couple of years, I'd have to look back, but just to report on individual instances. And I describe it as human rights reporting because the focus was on really the injury itself to a particular person, particular blows from particular hands at a particular moment in a particular place, as opposed to a more abstract policy discourse. Just that and I did that kind of reporting, really modeled on international human rights reporting that I had been exposed to. And over time, a question formed, and that question remains at the center of my work and my colleagues' work. And it's really a simple question, which is, okay, this is happening. We're documenting it. I'm a reasonably competent reporter. This is happening. What set of institutional conditions would have to exist for what we, in fact, know to be the case, And so you begin to work up a kind of analytic ladder, but always grounded in people's lived experience in the communities most affected. And I continue to feel like that anchor is critically important, because it's possible in all sorts of different, policy areas to have a kind of policy discourse that, takes place in a kind of mid-level abstract sphere that never needs to be accountable to conditions on the ground. In any case, in collaboration with civil rights lawyers, that began a campaign that continues and has had significant impact in the city to try to sort of answer that question by wresting information from the police department and the city, which is a whole other chapter.
Now, you say you had international models. Did you look at other reporting? It's like, Robert Caro, we did a thing with Robert Caro, and Robert Caro, in the Power Broker says, well, I turned over every page. I had to read every page. Who are your influences that get you here to this systematic?
There are sort of models where there have been truth and reconciliation commissions and things of that nature, where what is really striking when you look at those sort of anthology of that work is the full attention given to individual victims and their experience in building a larger reality.
So as you're doing this other work, you're reading about Rwanda, South Africa, the way
Rwanda, Argentina, Brazil, other Latin American countries, South Africa. And there's also a critique of, I mean, it's implied and some of what we've said so far, a critique of how a lot of reporting works in this country, either sort of captured by policy frame, and then you go look for a case study in support of policy, or parachuting into, the neighborhoods most affected. So trying to kind of break with that, but always to put the injury to the individual, to kind of center that, but then not to stop there. And then these sort of systemic questions become critical. And I think that is, at least in my understanding of it, sort of the trajectory of human rights discourse and the deeper truth and reconciliation type inquiries, a need to understand the societal and institutional conditions that allowed for these things to happen.
So inside the Invisible Institute, is there a lawyer there too? And how did you meet that lawyer, and how did you come to form a partnership to think about this work?
So about 20 odd years ago, lawyer Craig Futterman at the legal aid clinic that's part of the University of Chicago. So, part of legal training, at least an option for students, is clinical experience. He was Chicago born and bred, had just come back to Chicago from elsewhere, and was starting a civil rights and police accountability clinic. And a common friend actually brought him down to meet me at Stateway Gardens in the midst of all the drama in public housing.
Now, is this the point where the police tried to get your notes?
That's later. But we sort of formed a partnership, and I persuaded him that rather than dispersing his efforts and the efforts of his students citywide, that concentrating on this one kind of extreme situation in public housing, which, was sort of the ultimate in differential policing and a kind of apartheid policing, but had the power to illuminate much more broadly.
Jamie, really quickly, will you just explain, just for the audience, what was that? I mean, it's the public housing crisis, because I'm not sure everybody understands unless you've been studying this for a long time or been.
Yeah, I should have.
Yeah.
I
So we
understand.
know.
So Chicago had a huge concentration of public housing, and Chicago, with the massive migration of people leaving the South between the wars and to some degree after the Second World War, Chicago was the promised land and a huge infusion.
Yeah,
And
all the way back to the Civil War, right?
back to the Civil War, but really accelerating, in the early 20th century. Chicago in 1919, as these pressures built, there was a race war. I mean, we refer to it as the 1919 riot, but it really was a sort of race war. And probably more than any single event, any single watershed event, that violence contributed to the hypersegregation that characterizes the city to this day. And so there formed what was called the Black Belt, running north to south, which was this sort of massive city within a city, quote unquote ghetto, to use a term from the past. And in the 1950s and into the 60s, the city undertook to replace dilapidated housing in the Black Belt, and which was a real problem. Fires, TB, all of that, with what then seemed to be a really benign, vision of these public housing towers. The wager with the devil that was made at that moment, and there was a whole discourse about this, is the original plan was to distribute public housing throughout the city. So it would have been an integrative strategy for low-income Blacks and others. What happened in reality is there was so much resistance from aldermen not wanting this in their wards, that the public housing was built precisely within the footprint of the old Black Belt. And then, a generation later, in the late 90s, the plan takes hold to tear down the high rises, again with a discourse about benefiting the people in them, about achieving integration. And again, it was done in a way that ended up reinforcing hypersegregation in the city. So it really became this kind of precipitous process of demolition, a kind of refugee crisis within the city, forced relocation, and steering people into low-income Black neighborhoods on the South Side to a kind of invisible ghetto. And it was in the midst of this, which unfolded over, more than a decade, that the work and reporting that we're talking about, the buildings are coming down, people are being preyed upon by police. And in one of the things I don't think I've ever really been able to effectively convey through my reporting, one of the ugliest aspects of this is everybody knew and had the means to know. I mean, I was reporting on it. I was confronting the head of the Public Housing Authority, various people, and publicly doing it about these conditions. And their response was, yes, we know this level of police abuse is going on. That's why we're tearing down these developments. So it was the ultimate in deferred maintenance. Like, you were not going to put money into fixing the physical conditions in the building. We're not going to put money into protecting people. It was scandalous.
So you've studied this system for a very long time, the history of it and where we are at present day. What lessons are there in how we build systems that work? It's like we don't seem as a society to really know why Rome works and other cities disappear into the underbrush. Like are there lessons that you can tell us?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of broad things, but this is in some ways a dispiriting moment, I should say, by way of preface. And I think it is nationally. We should, in Chicago, the critical sort of watershed event in the last decade was the police murder of Laquan McDonald, which I reported at the time. And when the now famous video of the young man being essentially executed on the streets of the city was released in 2015, it just created this huge crater at the center of our civic life. And it continues to be the kind of frame, and this is the era of Laquan McDonald in Chicago, and then you have George Floyd nationally and internationally. Well, that was how many years ago? The better part of a decade ago. And for that entire time, there has been a consensus, at least expressed as a consensus, that there's no higher priority than police accountability and improved public safety. And I would say if the measure is the lived experience of the people most affected by abusive policing, things are no better now than they were. And that's just by way of I want to respond to the systemic question, but I think it's just really, and I think nationally, we've got to grapple with the fact that here we are. Think about that it's almost like a dream now.
Mhm.
The incredible expansion of human sympathies after George Floyd, and where we are now in terms of effective change. And so I don't want to be too downbeat, and I have some other
Yeah.
to say about it, but I think it's a sobering moment. That's all I want to convey.
Is that you talk about the frame? Is the frame the same, in a sense, the same way when you did the book tour you talked about earlier, where the frame was just on the thing? Are you seeing a parallel with what we're seeing with this particular
That's
thing?
a really good question. And I think the answer is that to a significant degree, the frame remains this kind of binary notion that the problems are caused by proactively racist officers. And that is a problem. And there are some. I mean, think Derek Chauvin. We don't need to know much more than what we witnessed, in the video of the murder of George Floyd. But it's not the problem. And I think one of the things, and this goes to your question about systems, one of the things that I feel like I have learned is that a racist system doesn't depend on individual racists to produce racist outcomes. We could expel the thugs from law enforcement, the rabid racists from law enforcement, and still be producing racist outcomes, tragic, absurd, avoidable racist outcomes, because we're not grappling with the systemic conditions. So there are all sorts of, in so many of these terrible incidents, and in the kind of maintenance of what I refer to as apartheid policing, there are all sorts of people who aren't, actively racist, certainly not in their own sense of themselves, who are making local decisions within these systems that contribute to these outcomes and to the perpetuation of the systems. And what we fail to do, what we just haven't been able to do, is to really think intelligently, systemically, not just about who's to blame, where do we allocate blame, which is what the criminal justice system and various oversight entities do. We need to create another kind of space it's really the human rights perspective again. The fundamental human rights insight and moral imperative is that when there are these terrible harms, we have a moral obligation to learn everything we can learn from the past in the interest of the future. We never do that with public policy.
Can you describe, what are those other things that would need to change? You could say we're gonna get rid of, we're gonna suspend the police who's corrupt. What are those other structures that are perpetuating this kind of systemic racism? What would have to change?
Well, I mean, I think, again, I'm speaking from Chicago, where it has been possible at various junctures in our history to reinvent the way in which we maintain a segregated city. And I mean, the broadest answer I can give to your question is that there are lots of things that can be fixed and a lot of my work is focused on this, in the accountability regimes, the way in which police abuse is investigated internally, supervision, various modes of accountability from the sergeants up within departments. What I've been delivered to, is that the fundamental source of impunity for abusive officers is the social status of their victims. And as long as we have a society where we consign whole populations to a sort of inferior status, it's more de facto than formal, there will be lots of space for certain types of official actors in the police department and elsewhere to abuse and prey on those populations. So that, I mean, that's the broadest possible answer. And I don't want to claim to have a prescription at this point. I think what we have an obligation to do is create civic spaces in which we really are looking holistically at 360 degree with all stakeholders involved at better understanding the conditions that bear down on various people acting within these systems. I mean, there's also a space, and I think the best human rights work has this, there's a kind of imaginative sympathy that's required for, we're all inside the belly of the whale together in this, we're all inside this together, and everybody's constrained in different ways. And until we can give an account of that, I think when you think about the George Floyd moment, particularly, and the Laquan McDonald moment in Chicago, I think what people aspired to, and it's expressed to some degree by the young activists with talking of abolition and defund the police, but what people were aspiring to broadly was a paradigm shift, just a different way of thinking about how we, maintain a level of public safety on an equitable basis, particularly in great American cities. And what we got instead so far is a kind of bolting on of fixes to a dysfunctional machinery.
Now, I think about Dr. King in Birmingham or Selma, that we've had similar protests movements going on now, but what we don't necessarily have is, the people going into the city and saying, hey, this is what we're going to change, and so that the protest movement was guided towards people on the ground who were going to actually advocate for the particular thing. They did that with the business leaders. There was a lot going on besides the people marching. When we look at these movements now, do we see that same level of thinking going on to affect a change?
I don't think so. I mean, I think there's a lot to admire in the movements, and the youthful energy. I think it's opened up a kind of imaginative space. But when you think about Dr. King and Selma particularly, on one hand, there was this extraordinary choreography of a historical drama, and King and his colleagues were masters of that. But I mean, it seems poignant to say it now when the achievements of those days have largely been eviscerated. But Selma was about the Voting Rights Act. It was about really granular stuff, It was about the poll tax. It was about various kinds of barriers to full enfranchisement. And I don't think we've yet seen the joint, except when it's a matter of wanting to see somebody fired or indicted. What we haven't seen is that coupling of energy in the streets with a really concrete agenda for change. That's my sense, that hasn't happened.
Do you see another place in the world where, because you do look outside of the United States, where they might have had a problem like this and they've started to clean it up in a way, or really break it apart? Is there anything happening right now? Because as you said, we're in a really challenging time. It feels disheartening. We're about to have another election. We don't know, what's going to happen. I mean, that in itself could be a dangerous moment. So, where is there hope, I guess, is where I'm asking.
Well, I there's a direction one might look, and I don't want to claim much knowledge. I'm so immersed in the Chicago situation. I've long had a kind of hypothesis that change was more likely to come from small and mid-sized jurisdictions. When you think about these big American cities, I mean, I've known some of the police superintendents in Chicago, and they're riding a tiger. I mean, we hold them accountable, but it's not clear what level of leadership would really be effective. I think in some of the smaller jurisdictions where it's possible for a police superintendent to know all of his or her officers, for people in the community to have his or her cell phone. I mean, I think leadership matters more there, and I would expect, innovation to more likely be modeled, and not in LA or Chicago or New York so much as in the next tier down. But I say that, as I say, as a hypothesis. I don't really have concrete knowledge.
In Chicago, does civil society come together within this community you're talking about to have an understanding of the changes that they want to see? Or are we living in a chaotic moment where people feel powerless?
Yeah, I think civic morale is really fragile. I mean, I think that's true nationally, and certainly true in Chicago. And I think it's a precious, precious commodity. I think people's belief in the possibility of change has real material consequences, as does its absence. And one of the things that I do find I think there's a lot of civil society, energies in Chicago. So I don't want to dismiss that. I don't think it's all that coherent, in their generational dynamics and distrust. And so I think folks don't interface that well with each other. That could maybe get better. The fear that I have, and it's both national and local, is there was a term that was used in Central Europe, by solidarity activists and in Czechoslovakia, that I've always found kind of haunting, for people living in this kind of totalitarian or debilitated totalitarian states. They spoke of internal emigres, of people who didn't change their address, didn't leave the country, put their head on the same pillow at night, but essentially withdrew from the public sphere, withdrew from a sense of participation in what had, become, the citizenship was so degraded in those circumstances that they withdrew. And, one can still have a rich private life. You have your friends and the restaurants you go to and the music and books you enjoy. And I think we're already pretty far gone into that kind of internal immigration. I would add, though, that our politics as a spectator sport. So we all are informed at one level, but being informed doesn't translate into an active sense of personal responsibility. There's a term that the journalist Mark Danner, I don't know if you've had a conversation.
No, we know Mark.
Yeah, no, and I greatly admire Mark, but I think he first used it in the context of the Bush era use of torture as official American policy. This notion of frozen scandal. He speaks of frozen scandal, where scandals survive their disclosure. We know, but we don't act on it. And I think there's something really debilitating about that. I think for institutions, I think our institutions have sort of been hollowed out by having available knowledge, available diagnoses, and not acting on them. And I think it has consequences for us as individuals. I think for our characters, individuals, and by extension as a polity. So the thing I most worry about is, that kind of civic demoralization that leads people to withdraw into private spaces. And that just leaves the field to all the forces with war. Right?
I think you're already, sadly, I think we're probably way, way beyond. We're there and then some. And I think just, if you even think about now what's happening, I mean, in the conversation around anti-Semitism, and now the conversation, what will happen to another hijacked journalistic sort of trend, which was Twitter, which was never supposed to be journalism, what's going to happen there, and the echo chambers with which people are, I don't know that people are taking the time to read your thoughtful work, and other people that are doing the deep, hard work. It's hard, to get in there and think about these things and then be compelled to do something about it. Because I think there's a feeling of hopelessness right now. I think on the heels also of these movements where they felt there was a lot of energy, but then what happens, and I don't know, it's challenging time.
Do you really feel that the gains of the civil rights movement have been eviscerated?
No, I feel like the struggle has been reconstituted, I guess is what I would say, but it's the same struggle. Yeah, over precisely the same questions of inclusion and equality.
We have this radical right Supreme Court tilting, out of line with the feelings of the individuals in society, does that remind you of courts of old? And it's like the Jim Crow laws invalidated the Supreme Court for 20 years. Are we in a period where we just have an invalidated Supreme Court? I mean, I'm afraid every time I see them taking up a new case, you know what I mean?
So I think what we're seeing, and I have to say that I suppose part of it as a kind of fellow traveler, there's a generation of legal scholars who were completely shaped by the Warren Court. Well, the Warren Court was a blip in terms of the larger history of the federal courts. Much of the best work of the Warren Court was in fact precipitated by the civil rights movement and the pressures of the civil rights movement. And it created this belief in the courts as the ultimate protectors of constitutional rights and as change agents in terms of achieving greater equality. Well, I don't want to be, too sweeping in this, but the current court is more representative of our history than the Warren Court, was. And it is, precedent by precedent, erasing the achievements of the Warren Court. And they don't disappear from the world. There's a huge dissenting tradition that I think, we're all part of. And that is part of what the constitutional tradition is. It includes the dissenting voices. But yeah, no, I think this is, and there's a lot more to come, clearly. So it raises profound questions about where we most effectively put our energies.
So are you an optimist for Chicago? Do you feel like we will solve these problems?
Well, part of what, I am completely a creature of the city. I mean, I love it and I hate it, and I need it. I sort of think with it, but there are wonderful things about the city. And at the same time, it sort of bruises you every day with the things that are kind of in plain sight. I mean, maybe this is provincial, but I think there's a way in which Chicago really is the great American city, just in the sense that certain themes, struggles, conflicts that are present throughout the society are just so boldly defined in Chicago and so in your face. And I don't think it's accidental that the right has seized on Chicago as this kind of dystopic hellscape, and it's absurd, it's absurd. This is a wonderful city. So I do have hope, but I think, and David Simon, the creative force behind The Wire, has said this, in fighting for the fate of these cities, we're really fighting for some notion of civilization. I mean,
right.
If a city like Chicago is not viable, that's really catastrophic.
Right.
And so we need to be lucid and hard-headed and honest with ourselves, because so much of the discourse about it is kind of hallucinatory.
Yeah, there's a long history of writing about Chicago and exposing a lot of this dark past. I wonder how we'll navigate this in all American cities at the moment, because it seems like we're not getting more just as a society. It seems like universally people are slipping further under the poverty line, and their voices are being heard less in society than they should be. I wonder how we will approach it. When you drive through those hundreds and hundreds of blocks in the city that's totally abandoned that we went to, Priscilla, Detroit, it's like everybody just moved out of there, and it just seems like the darker forces are at work. But I guess my feeling about it is that we will eventually get to a better place, because I think if we didn't believe that, then we couldn't all do the work that we do.
I think there's something else that goes to something you said earlier, just about civil society energies. And it's one of the things I tried to some degree in working with Available Light, and I've tried in some of my more recent writing to capture this. And I've tried to push back in the current moment against all the fear mongering around crime and violence, which is all so, to say it's racially coded is generous. I mean, it's just so racist on its face. And, I think there's a way in which, and we I don't know what the answer is, but I think this might be a helpful diagnosis. There's a way in which the violent act commands center stage. The violent act commands the foreground. And it's like we're wired for that. I mean, look at our popular entertainment and the stories we read. The violent act commands center stage just in the way we process the world. And what gets eclipsed, an act of violence occurs and we recognize it as an act of violence because it's a departure from the norm, because it's a departure from how people treat you. So a crime is committed up the block from me, and that's terrible and it's unnerving for everybody, and it's on their minds. But what gets eclipsed is all the acts of human care and kindness and mutuality that are going on all the time, all around us. And I think it's always been the puzzle for nonviolence, and for the possibilities of nonviolent change, is that actually the world of nonviolence is so big and so robust that we actually don't see it.
That's a beautiful thing to think about, and a great way, I think, to sort of end this moment, this conversation with you, because I think that is true, and that needs more light, right? That needs more light.
And that's capacity. That's a capacity we have if we recognize it.
Yeah. Well, it's been a lovely conversation about a very dark subject, but very much appreciated. And hopefully you'll come back and talk to us again. This was really fantastic.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Jamie.
Thanks.